stereotypes have basis
Mm,
perceptions. If there's a perception that area people are like this, it is because
yeah.
some time ago, some a group of area people acted this way.
Yep.
And when we started trying to disprove the theory, some area man came to reprove that theory. And we're like, ha, we are never beaten the allegation.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Shaft podcast, the podcast that seeks to bring you the hidden side of different personalities and get to have brilliant and exciting conversations. Today's discussion is really unique and is one that I'm personally looking forward to, and I do hope that you would enjoy. I'm having a conversation with a gentleman here called Koo Kusi. There's someone who is also from my alma mater, KNUST, and he has a very very long bio and is someone who is viewed as multi-talented. So hopefully today we'll be able to dig into the different aspects of his life. I hope the time would be able to cover, and we'll try to get out some of the most interesting things he believes in, his thoughts, his opinions on different issues. So I do hope you stick with us. Before we move on to the conversation, as usual, we'd like to make a plea with you. The channel keeps growing, and we thank you so much for your support over the years and how much you've been sticking to us. We do hope that we continue to do so, but a large part of that is your subscriptions, right? Your ability to subscribe to the channel would help to boost our numbers and would also help to uh, uh, level up the guests just like we're doing currently. So please subscribe, please share with your friends, and keep commenting on those videos. All right, back to today's topic. I would like to introduce our guest, Koo Kusi. Welcome, Koo Kusi.
I appreciate
How are
it.
you feeling?
I am great. I just have a problem with the fact that you lied to people. Uh, we are not about to have an educative conversation. We are about to have a very irresponsible conversation. So if you're in for one, let's go.
Yeah, I we need to find a way to bring them in. I think one of the things I usually like to think about is the question to start with, because I think it's very important to use that to set the tone. So I want
Right.
to start with this. When people come into contact with you and interact with you, what is the impression of yourself do you think they continue to have after you are gone? How do you think they see you?
How do people perceive me?
Yes. How do you
Huh.
perceive yourself in the eyes of people, not just how
Of
people see
people.
you?
It varies. So I like to think, and I've heard people say it before, that I shapeshift a lot.
Hmm.
So it's place and time. Like it depends on what you call that. It depends on where I'm at and who I'm meeting. All those things will dictate how I'll be perceived. And it can see the spectrum is wide. It's like it can move from super hot to freezing cold, and it depends on like, where I'm at. And I don't mean it's like what you call that. When I say cold, I don't mean like act cold or anything. It's just the difference in personalities. I can be very like informal, very loose, and then there are
Hmm.
in another universe I'll be very like uptight, and I'm not even in control of which version you're getting. Sometimes I just have to pray that the more fitting version of me
Yeah.
like comes out in the right place. So yeah, it varies.
Yeah. So, in which of these conditions would you say you find yourself most comfortable at? So, that is sort of leading me more into the question of who do you think you are? What do you think you represent? If there's even just one thing you want the world to know about yourself, well, how would you describe yourself in that way?
I think, or I like to think that I'm very easygoing. And I like it there. I like all the like informality,
Hmm.
and I like I like very like chill environments where we can have all the weird conversations in the world. The problem though is that um where the weird conversations are being had, the kind of
Yeah.
conversations I like, they are all like super formal spaces. So I never get like It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like
Yes.
you want to have a conversation about psychology. The people that want to have that conversation are super formal people, right? They are
Yeah.
not switching from having a super careless conversation to, oh, let's talk about like human behavior. It's
Yeah.
like that. But in my ideal, like in a in a utopia, I would want to be able to have all those difficult conversations, the conversations that people run away from, but in a
Yeah.
very chill boys setting. Like you
Yeah.
get. Yeah.
I feel you. I feel you. And I kind of get that energy from you also. So I don't think energy lies. There's one podcast that I follow, and I think it's a book also. It's called Free Economics. So what they just try to do is they take complex economic analysis and they try to input it into their everyday life. So they have these boys conversations, but the thought process and uh, the thinking behind it is so grand and is supporting like very very big theories. And I like to think that that's the kind of world where it's a bit more comfortable because the quote unquote educated or Brela space tends to be very very inaccessible for a lot of people. So I think these are the conversations that would change the world basically. Yeah.
Yeah, you smart people are very condescending, so some of us can't approach you or join the conversations, unfortunately.
I
Like, why are
hope
you
you're not
having
referring to
conversations
me.
about faith? I'm just saying, why are you having conversations about like it's like social stratification, if you ask me. Like, can't we all go and
Yeah.
talk about Koo Kusi?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so some topics are out of bounds. Like if you have those conversations, you are not seen to be an intellectual, so you
Yeah,
just have to pick and choose. Yeah. No, I
yeah,
feel you. I feel you. I mean, well, I know you have a huge passion for social activism and the way in which you do that or you're able to spread the messages through art. So I'm particularly sure that we'll start having some of these conversations as we go along. But I
for
want
sure.
to start by going to the roots of things, where these things begin to pick up from. And tell me a bit about your childhood. What are the most vivid memories that you have that stick out for you, that you think is very defining of how you've grown up to be? Whether this is positive, whether this is negative, I just want you to give us a picture.
My childhood. Yeah. I take a yogurt break to think about this one. Um, I like to think I had a happy childhood. Um, I don't know that I had any profound traumas like growing up. I'm the last of like four kids, right? And we lived in
Okay.
Adenta, Snitz flat. And if you've ever lived in the flats before, you understand it's a vibe. Like you come out of your house, and then other kids come out of their house, and then you link up, and then
Yeah.
you go and have fun. It's dope. It's I don't know how the that about people that were living at East Legon and airport. I don't know how they were doing it, but we had fun in the flats. I loved it. It's my mom had a store in Adenta, and it was just by the basketball court. And my brother and I were there a lot of the time. So I grew up on basketball. Like you're at the store, you're
Mm,
watching basketball, then you go and play basketball with them. Uh, Adenta is also it. I don't want to say like a semblance of the hip hop culture because I never saw like maybe like guns and things, but there's some there's some like connections. Like you see like rap battles, dance battles at the basketball
mm,
court. And it's dope, like it's cool, right? I didn't have to
mm.
watch it on TV, like not sharing it live. You get it. And
Yeah.
so those are things that I also remember. Like I remember JSO
Oh
organizing like
wow.
rap battles. Yeah. JSO is an identity where he grew up at on cross hanger on the basketball court.
Oh.
And he would organize like rap battles and things, and you see these things. Uh the only thing that I guess scarred me a little about my childhood was the inception of an inferiority complex. And
Mm.
it's crazy. Like I feel like my papa ye jumegu. Like because he raised us to be confident. My dad and my mom, like they both like raised us to like Kofi Yeniska, but it doesn't mean that you should be timid kind of mindset, right? Like don't
Yeah.
go put in
Yeah.
a fight, but anytime like a teacher had a problem with you, my dad will fact check it with you. He doesn't just straight up, hey, why are you doing this? And it's always like open day. Hey, your son is following bad friends or in a crowd. It's like, I don't know. It's like, my boy said it's not true. That kind of father, that's what we had.
Yeah.
And then when you're going home, you say, hey, share who you like, be careful because like these things, even if it's not true, people talk. So you have to like watch the way you move. And I thought that was cool.
Mhm.
So for someone who was raised to be confident, developing a terrible inferiority complex that would run through from their childhood till their adult years, I feel like I failed my father. But to God be the glory, we're a work in progress. And I guess those are the most, I guess the things from my childhood that have stuck with me, like up until
Mhm.
today. Yeah,
No, I think it's very interesting. I think it's super important, especially the kind of relationship that you have with your parents and the way in which you describe it. I think it's very very powerful because it affects
mhm,
the way in which you interact with authority. But there's a phrase you use. You describe it as work in progress, and I think it's
right.
interesting that you describe it that way. What was it for you like in the beginning? Do you mind sort of like going into what actions started influencing the thoughts, or what thoughts were they, and how were they influencing subsequent actions? Was this something you were speaking to people about? How were you also trying to deal with it when you discovered
I didn't understand it.
it?
I didn't know. I guess I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough at the time. And of course, like you're young, right? I think
Yeah.
I was still getting to know it. And it's the reason why mental health has become so important to me because I took interest in understanding why people do what they do so that I can understand myself better. Like,
Yeah.
why am I so, like, why can I be so socially awkward sometimes?
Yeah.
And then in another space, it's like, I'm chill. I think it was largely associations that or connections that I drew. Like, when they call I'm short, right?
Yeah.
That's the adjective I've heard the most in my life. That word, right? And now I love it to death. But growing up, it was a trigger word, and I
Mm.
guess short is an adjective, right? For be
Yes.
offensive. So at
Yeah.
what point did it switch? The malice that is associated with it, when they say it, the other expression that, or I guess the negative connotation that it comes with, the other emotion that they express, the malice, the teasing, right, makes you realize, I did with the papa, right? Like if they say this to you, it's not
Yeah.
great. And the moment you begin to associate those things together, you begin to react to them. And I was not the coolest kid. I went to St. Teresa's school, but it's rich kids and cool kids and politicians kids and all that. Yeah, now take off a trotro, right? We're walking to go and get the next cab from Circle. So it's like, really day inside. And all those
Mm.
things add on to it. You're not cool, you're picking trotro, you're short, uh, the girls are only talking to you when it's time to do class test, right? It's like you're only good enough for your brain. And all those things for a like 12-year-old, 13-year-old, they feed into like your process or your appreciation of self, right? This is at a point where you don't have an opinion of yourself. So you have to take other people's opinion of you and own it. And if it's not great, then you don't feel great about yourself. And because I didn't understand at the time that these are the associations I'm making, I just thought it was objective. Like this is the gospel truth. Deal with it. And went into high school with that. But high school saved my life.
Wow.
Boys don't care for anything, right? Like certain things that your mental, which Charlie boys no care. Oh. Like they don't care about it. And so they talk you out of these things. You don't even get to express these things. It can be toxic because then it means that you would internalize certain emotions, but you have boys saying great things about you that make you feel confident in yourself all over again. And then now you begin to appreciate yourself slowly and process and ask yourself why I used to feel this way. And then it's like an epiphany, you understand. Yeah,
Yeah, I, I mean, like what you're saying is really really profound, and itself it opens up a Pandora's box.
right,
As and I think when we get to the conversation around mental health, we'll dig into it a bit. But
for
just a
sure.
sneak peek. there is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of discussion going on right now that the discussion of mental health in itself is a seems to be a precursor of the symptoms and it's itself going viral. That the more you talk about it, it goes viral. The more people tend to be affected. I don't believe that the way to solve this is to stop talking about it, but we'll just talk
Mm-hmm.
about how sometimes these contexts like high school boys, how it interacts in that way to make to provide like a solution to what we're talking about. Cool. But I just want to make this connection because you spoke about not having the language to be able to express these kind of thoughts in the first place. So, but now when you speak about it, you say that you embrace the term. Where did this shift happen? What was it a coping mechanism? Was it a newfound hobby sport? Where did you begin to find this level of positivity?
It, I think somewhere between secondary school and university. But I do
Mhm,
know the university part is like vivid. And
mhm.
if I say I'll share another one with you. I've never shared this before, right? So
Yeah,
I'll talk about it. I'm bold enough to talk about it.
yeah.
I have a lisp. Okay, I speak with a lisp. My entire life, I've hated it. So my friend said that when I talk, sometimes I do this because I don't want you to see my mouth. I don't want you to see my
Mm,
lips. I don't even realize when I stop doing it. Like by now, I'll be doing like this. And
mm.
and I thought it wasn't great until I spoke to some chick that said, "Oh, I kind of find it sexy when boys talk with a lisp." I'm like,
Ah.
"Oh." First time I thought it was cap. On God, I thought she was playing with me. And I heard another girl say it after like maybe like 6 months or maybe a year. I can't remember. But she's like, so this is a thing. Like people actually think that speaking with a lisp is a DB thing. Me like
Mm.
before, but like from Adenta Smith Plus, you think I'm DB because I have a lisp? I bet now let everybody see that I have a lisp. But just with the same principle, I think that that is when I was able to begin to look at things from a positive like standpoint. If the thing that made the adjective short become derogatory was
Mhm.
people's emotional expression to it, then people's emotional expression to that same word can make it become great again.
Yeah,
Oh, I actually think he's cute. Oh, I actually think, like things like that. Sometimes what
yeah.
kind of idea grow, but sometimes like people actually mean it. So just that sense of acceptance. Secondary validation.
Mhm.
And secondary validation has been demonized even by me in my music. I've spoken about it on Phone Down. I talk about how, bro, like we shouldn't be looking for secondary validation. But when you're in the trenches, that's the only thing that can get you up. Because you yourself,
Real,
you know they see. If be somebody
real.
for show you, like you wear a shirt, you don't think you look great in it, and then someone is like, bro, this your shirt's there. You spoiled
You
there. Yep,
fly.
tomorrow you want to wear it
Yes.
again. Right? So
Yeah.
it plays a role. Anybody that says secondary validation doesn't do anything, it's a hypocrite. Yes, I'm talking to you. It is a hypocrite if you think it's not great. It is great, but it is too much of it that becomes a problem. When we bring you
Mm,
up from the trenches, and then after that, like you're still dependent on it, that is when it's like, oh, bro, you too, be like,
mm.
you didn't make overly dependent on that.
Yeah,
So I would say that it is those like things that made me begin to look at it differently to a point where now I myself can appreciate me for myself.
yeah. I would like to make this observation before we go on. You spoke about from the start, you spoke about the saying the unconventional things. I think
Mhm.
we've begun to talk about the unconventional things because things like secondary validation, like you've mentioned, has been demonized for a very long period of time. I even have a personal theory that the way in which you view yourself is an aggregation of how most people view you. You sort of shift till you're able to fine tune yourself to a rhythm where you think, "Yeah, I think I like this. I think I like this," and then you stay there. You begin to build on it. But obviously,
Yeah,
discussion for another day. I want
yeah,
to I want to ask this question because we're delving more into the academic side of things. Like you did
yeah,
mention, sometimes your validation came from your brains. That's what you thought you were good at, and that's what you thought a lot of people appreciated you for. But a lot of people with the background similar to what you have always speak about the driving motivation, the force behind their academic and intellectual pursuits was the level of insecurities which they had, especially financial insecurities. Would
Yeah.
you would you
Boys for commerce for the trenches. Hey.
so how big of a role do you think this played, if any at all? And what do you think about that phenomena in general? Do you think it's sustainable? Do you think it's valid? Do you think it's a narrative that we need to continue to hold?
First off, Erasmus, I don't like the way you've made me look like a nerd. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. No, we didn't have it like that. But not having it was not my motivation. I did
Mm.
not even know that we don't have it like that. Okay. I did not understand. I did not understand how broke we were. I think we were fine. My dad, now that I'm older, I look back, I'm like, yeah, bro, you were broke. But
He
at the
tried.
time, Charlie, he didn't provide. He just, bro, he didn't carry you go St. Teresa's school, oh, right? So you
Yeah.
don't know that, Charlie, you don't have it like that. Except when you see that people have PSP and Game Boy Color and you don't have. But that one
Yeah.
crowd, you say that, oh, many angel. Yes, he is.
Eh.
But anyway, I think my biggest drive was my siblings.
Mm.
We all went to the same school and we have the Kusi last name. So
Yeah.
every class you go to, your older sibling has been there before. The moment
Mm.
you come to the class, there's an expectation of you. He's a Kusi. He has to, like, when you're 9 over 10, I ever ball because you are Kusi. You get
Mm.
it. And for
Yeah.
me, like, that was what it was. No one ever, I do not recall ever having a Sunyadie conversation with my dad, nor my
Wow.
mother. If they said it, they were capping. They were just trying to act like parents. Maybe they went to church and they said, hey, I catch my man. They said, oh, Munsiadie. They did not have any reason to tell us. We knew it. It was intrinsic, right? And for me, that's what like drove me to go like over and beyond and try and be successful. Yeah.
So you agree he went over and beyond?
Now me come home. Yeah. I was not the most.
Let's talk about that a bit. What would you say, if you could briefly describe what your educational journey has been? Because I know at a point in time you were in KNUST, and I think for me, the first time I heard of you, someone said, "Oh, where are you TO?" And we all know what TA means in in KNUST. Just wabeng wabeng.
Right.
So let's talk about your educational journey. You mentioned Saint Teresa in Adenta. So that where did you go to, and where are you now?
So St. Teresa's is actually in Kanishi after Circle.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I moved from there to Opoko High School this science
Oh,
3
what?
years. Yeah. Uh, then I went to pharmacy school to do my PharmD. That took like 6 years. And then I TA'd, like you're saying, and I wanted to stay around the research space. I needed to be sure that this research thing that I want to do is really for me. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
because you're just smart enough to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because you said you're smart. It's not like top of the top valedictorian type smart. So like don't get over like don't go,
Don't be
like
overambitious.
don't get over your head and then think that, oh yeah, I go fit be prof, then you go do yawa. Nah, I had to test it out.
Mhm.
So uh I don't know if you know, do you know Kojo Q, right?
Yeah, I know Kojiki.
Do you know his wife?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know
So
she's a
Krishna
doctor.
was
I don't know her personally, but
she
I
so
know
she's
she's a
she's a
prof
pro-
or
now
something.
she's
Yeah.
she's an associate professor now. She
Oh,
taught me in
okay.
pharmacy school and she was my mentor. It was she and then there's this other one, Professor Kwaji, and they've been like they were more than parents. It's crazy.
Mm,
And so every year, like you, Kwaji, he there from the jump, from first year,
mm,
he talked to me like throughout what you want to do, kind of thing. So they got me like interested in this like research thing, and she
mm,
gave me opportunities to do research and teach. Like when I became a TA, and And then that's when I realized for myself that, oh, I actually love doing this and I want to make a career out of it. Um, so I applied for the PhD program in University of North in Texas Health Science Center, wanting to do addiction research. So I just came in here looking for whatever lab that's addiction that I can connect to. Then I found a behavioral like lab, the Forster lab, and then I joined and I've been doing nicotine addiction research like ever since. Yeah, 3 years.
I mean, that seems so cool. I still want to keep my eyes on the ball that it's pharmacy, and I didn't have good interactions and memories from just the small biochemistry and stuff that I did. So when you
Hmm.
talk about addiction and studying it in that way, I'm like, oh, it's so cool. And I'm like, then I remember it's pharmacy, so I shouldn't get carried away. But
Yeah.
ho- how have you, given what you say about yourself and your relation to this professional space and how you need to behave and
Hmm.
sometimes the way you need to talk, how have you been able to marry these different personalities? Of course, we'll talk about your music more in general, but
Right.
being artistic, carefree, creative, now fitting it into an academic field that, with all due respect to all academicians, tends to get quite rigid and
Say it. Say it as it
still.
is. Say it.
And
Don't be afraid. Say it.
yeah, you put me in trouble and then you go and I'll be here. And
Yeah, that's a good question. See, those are some of the questions that people are afraid to ask. Um, how do you stay in these two worlds where one group perceives the other group to be rogues and the other group
yeah,
perceives the other group to be uptight, and you are in
yes,
the middle of the two of them? Yep.
yes.
That's why I told you that depending at the beginning. I told you that depending on where I go, I shapeshift. Right?
Hmm.
It's perceived that academicians are like book minded and uptight. Bro, they only look like that for the conferences. They have lives, they have families, they have parties, they have fun, they love music, just like us. They are regular people. And then the people who are making the music also have things that are important to them, also have education. Well, some of them also like go to school, also go to hospital and go and sit in front of a doctor. So they care.
Hmm.
And just the appreciation of the fact that each group needs each group makes me feel comfortable in my skin. But I don't know that
Hmm.
everyone perceives it this way at the jump. And that's the reason why sometimes we pretend. When I went to
Hmm.
pharmacy school, I quit. So my thing is this: for every academic space I go in, until I've tested the waters, I don't start with any of my extracurricular things because that's why I'm here. When I test the waters and I feel like, yeah, I'm comfortable, yep, I'm about to do any and everything. Once it doesn't derail my academic progress. And that has been the code, like since. I never had parents telling me, oh, quit music or stop this or stop photography or you're doing too much. It's never happened because you've done it, right? You
Hmm.
brought grades home and you're not wayward or anything, so they're fine. So in the was when I went, I started doing rap for talent nights because you either do rap or you dance or you act a fool. So I went to rap and they're like, this boy, he rap. Yeah, we'll add him to this group. Joined the group and quit after like 3 weeks because I was scared. Hey, science students over here rap. Kind of mindset.
Hmm.
So I stopped for like a year. Then when I felt comfortable, I brought it back. Then I did rap until like graduated. When I went to pharmacy school, it was the same thing. I stopped rap for 3 years.
Hmm.
2013, 2014, 2015 was the first time I put music out. And I was scared when anybody tells somebody, oh, this boy we did high school, they did rap. I get paranoid. I hate it. Right? Mempese obi ampo bete because pharmacy
Hmm.
school, Charlie, oh be a doctor of, like
Yeah,
you don't want to be seen like a rapper, right?
yeah.
But when I got to a point where I was comfortable in my skin and I felt like, you know, go fit tell me anything, I brought it back. And when I came here, the PhD program, I didn't think much into it because I had a plan for how I'm going to marry the two for it to coexist. And that's
Yeah.
why for here, I didn't even feel bad about that. And it is all of this is the reason why my style of music has evolved over the years. I've had to evolve it to a point where when my supervisor listens to my music, I'm not faced. I'm not cussing, I'm not swearing, I'm not saying anything egregious. is chill. You should listen type of like energy. Yeah.
This is a lot, and trust me, a lot of people. I'm sure you probably know this. A lot of people go through this. A lot of people go through this because, people like to think that there's a split between you being talented creatively and then you being brainy. Most of the time, people who are talented creatively are very brainy people,
Yep.
um, and people can be able to. I think what a lot of, should we say, stuck up people and people who sometimes have this view of creatives as carefree and stuff, like what they don't understand is that it takes a level of intelligence to also be able to express yourself creatively, especially when you are doing it beyond everyone. Like when it comes to academics, sometimes there's a clear metric for how you should succeed. When it comes to creativity, it's difficult because the standards of measuring it is usually very, very fluid and it's not quite clear. You need to be, I don't know, like outperform someone in a way. So I think it starts with an appreciation of how much brain it comes in to be creative.
You
But
know, I'll just be weird and ask you this.
yeah,
I'll put you on the spot and ask you this. Why do you think, or where do you think, since we both agree that creatives are highly intelligent, where do you think the perception of if you're a creative, your head die came from? What do you think?
I well, both of you to be asking me questions on my show. Um, but I'll share
I
my
know it's
opinion here because these are things that I think about, right? I think it it comes from it came from a need for each of them to distance themselves from the other. I think the point is it starts from the target audience, right? How do you want
hmm
people to perceive you? The the average person who follows academics intellectuals needs to be brilliant. You need to be smart. So if I'm
hmm
appealing to you, there is no need to dumb it down. In fact, the more complex it is, the more you are more likely to follow me, and the more you are more likely to support me. Whereas on the other hand, I think creatives communicate something different. So that communicative side demands them to be simplistic enough. So there is a push down to water it down as much as possible for most people to enjoy. And I think that's what pushes them to differentiate themselves by being a bit more carefree, making them feel like, oh, I look like you, I'm a part of you. Like, for example, Lil Wayne is bright, intelligent, an A student, but he had dreads from when he was 15, tats, things like that, in order to be accepted within the environment where he was creating this art from. Did I pass?
I don't have a marking scheme. I'm just like curious to know. I just be collecting answers from wherever I go. What I do think is that stereotypes have basis.
Mm,
Perceptions, if there's a perception that Ewe people are like this, it is because
yeah.
some time ago, a group of Ewe people acted this way. And when we started trying to disprove the theory, some Ewe man came to reprove that theory. And we're like, ha, we are never beaten the allegations, right?
Yeah.
And because it became so deeply ingrained, it became culture and it was passed on. This is the birth of stereotypes. I
Mm,
think that the stereotype around artists like not being academically bright is because some artists were not academically,
and even
and
now.
they and they and this is what it is. It is not a measure of intelligence.
Mm,
Academic performance is not a metric for intelligence. It is a surrogate endpoint, but it is not
mhm.
like one is to one mapping. I think
Yeah.
what happens is that they struggle to prioritize. They get so deeply like engrossed in the art, they are not paying attention to the academic part. So they are not bringing the academic prowess to like the table to show you what they can do. If they were learning at the same rate you were, they'll probably do better than you in class. That's like one theory I have. Just that, like striking the balance and prioritization. And because of that, if you have 10 creatives and eight of them don't care about academic work and only two of them care, So only two of them are successful. And then out of the eight, maybe three of them are naturals. So they'll pass anyway. But the rest of the
Yeah.
five, because they didn't prepare, failed. They'll say 50% of artists are not smart. And that perception will be proved every year. But no one is considering how many hours they're spending on what. That's one. The other thing is it's easy to have people, and that one I don't even know if it's true artistry, but it's like you have to become something. So I go to
Yeah.
school. I'm not good enough to become a doctor, right? So I say, and I don't mean that I don't say this to say that this is everyone. It's a small
Yeah.
proportion, might be. I've not done the math, but it's possible that because they don't find space in the like the science realm, then we're going to go into art, and then they
Yeah.
find themselves in there.
Yeah.
And that one, I still stand to say that if it wasn't really for you, some of them still become an epic failure. So it's like you thought that art is for dumb people, so you went to do art only for you to realize that you're not even cut out for that. But I feel like those are the things that have shaped those narratives. I wanted to end up in art. Science had no space in this life. No, I art debates, maybe go and do law,
Yeah.
something. That's where I was looking, but I guess God had other plans. But like, yeah, that's what I think.
No, no, I totally agree with you. I think it's true. It's true. Like, and even some of the scenarios which you describe, it's very true because at least in cultures like conservative cultures like ours, we know that the parents want you to do something brainy and smart because that's what will pay. But even at my workplace now, I think what I observe is that the people who are more creative tend to do well in general, with even within some of these more structured spaces. Like I have a guy who is one of my seniors at work, and he plays the guitar, plays it very
Mm,
well actually,
mm.
but it's a bank. So, um, so, so
Uh,
you begin to draw the patterns. No, I think that's super interesting. Anyway, let's start talking about your art itself and its evolution. What were you, because you do mention that from Adenta you were seeing some of these ciphers things put in place, but what were some of your earliest memories of you actually creating music and creating art?
2006. I
2006.
heard, oh, I've not answered the question yet. 2006, I heard Sarkodie for the first time. Um,
Mm.
do you remember? Na some of them who to be a 7 year person or team go trying to take out the which
Oh yeah, I met my boy, so you can imagine.
my brother came from SHS with some CD, and Sarkodie's "I'm So Hood" was on there, "Hustle" was on there, and then I heard him for the film. Like, hey, how he's breaking the syllables. I kind of like this. And I became a fan, and but I never like dabbled. I never tried, but I know that I wanted to do it just because I heard him do it. So JHS 1, I wrote my own like Sarkodie, like kind of rap, right? And it was a story, right? That didn't really make any sense. Trust me, it was just rhyming and breaking syllables, right? And I wasn't even like showing it to people. Then I started listening to Skillions. You remember Skillions?
Mm.
Me, I won't go
Yeah.
Central. I won't go. Yeah.
Ah, the voice.
Brad Kevin Beats, Lil Shaker, and then there was
Yeah.
this guy called Papa Besa. Well, at the time he was Papa. That time, what was his name? I think he was just Papa Music, maybe. Now he's Papa Besa. Like he would rap, and he was Christian, so he does Christian rap.
Oh,
And
I
so
know
his song,
Papa.
oh, you know Papa.
Yeah, I used to listen to his songs.
Oh, and you stopped. You should come back. He's 10 times better than he used to be.
Oh, really? I used to
Yeah,
listen to his
Papa
songs.
is.
Yeah.
Just look for Papa Besa. You'll be blown away. But I listen to people like that, and I'm Christian. I grew up in a Christian home. Just the fact that he's been able to put his faith in the rap that I'm enjoying, I was like, yeah, this thing be cool. So I started doing that, like JHS 2, JHS 3 area. Started like writing Christian rap. Like I'll take a Christian prayer, like the Apostles' Creed, and rewrite it as rap,
Mm.
right? Things like that. And I went into, and I don't know, maybe at the time, so I was doing it because I had a need to be cool. Sorry, right now I'm in. there's some cognitive dissonance. Like my dream where I'm arguing with myself right now. I don't know if I did it to be cool, because if I did it to be cool, then I want people to see it, right? So why was I hiding? I'm sorry, we are weird. Like we do this often. Anyway, I did this for a while, went into high school. And when I went into high school, talent night, like I told you, I went to rap. And I did one of my JHS like raps that bangs, Christian rap that people like, oh, seniors, let's say,
Fans.
Mami, yes, I'm I didn't be. Right? So I stopped. And then I started writing punchline rap. I actually stopped rapping in school after that for like a year, almost a year, like a couple months. Then I came back, joined some group, SOD. Anyone that went to WAS around 2010, 2011, 2012 era, I will tell you about SOD. We were
Okay.
the best rap group, and I'm saying this to decipher. I'm saying it on record, we're the best rap group. Anyway, I stayed there, did punchline rap for some time. Like, you know what punchline rap is, right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of rapping, like rapping about rap, right?
Yeah.
I'm so this, I flow so, type
Yeah.
rap. It didn't really have any meaning. I did that for like 3 years, and when I came out, I felt like, that will be our new answer na 3 years back and like I have to like do better for myself. I spoke to this guy, he's called Kojo Spirit. I went to his studio, he just liked my music. And he's like, have you ever considered like doing Christian? I was like, oh, my last scene, I'm hear Christian musical, but boy, it's not say I'm on pay. So I had to like stop it. He's like, no, try it. So in 2014, I wrote one just for him and he liked it, but
Mm,
I never put it out. And then 2015, I started like doing it again. Then 2017, I joined this group, Sasa, in tech.
mm,
It's
yeah.
like the way we have debaters in tech, the
Yeah.
poetry end of things was like Chaskele, Sasa, they were one group. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is where I learned that, and then yami asem kwa na okay just like
Mm,
you can talk about social issues. It was a bunch of Christian kids that have a lot of different conversations: sex, drugs, money, whatever, right? They'll talk about it. And that is the
yeah.
first time I spoke about inferiority complex on a record. And that is how I've evolved to become this person right now. So that's the journey.
No, I think it's an incredible journey. Usually, when people see the artist, they see a finished product.
Mhm.
But I think you have one of the more curious artistic journeys. Would you, let me just ask this quickly, would you say that this is what you want to do now? This is where you've settled at? Is it that you enjoy it? Is it that you feel you can do other things? Or you would find the need to challenge yourself maybe some other time?
Like in terms of music,
Yeah, in terms of your brand of music, in terms of the niche you occupy right now.
to be honest, Erasmus, I love it here. Do you know what do you know what it does to your soul when you are down or you have lab, you are tired, and you pick your phone and you open Instagram, and the first message you see is, "Bro, Yami Shroud." Like, bro, God bless you. Like, and people are walking you through their journey of like things
Mm-hmm.
they've been through. And I can pick my phone and read some of them out to you, except I'll be like in privacy and like all of that. But like people send you paragraphs. And sometimes you think it's fanfooling, but it's not though. Like just the detail in it. You've just done the song, oh. By now, cry, you
Yeah,
did the song for you. And someone has
yeah.
taken it and this is the way they feel about it, bro. It's it's too rewarding for me to say, yes, it's him. I'll not do this again. Because if I change, if I go back to rapping about rap, bro, who come and tell me that this thing changed my my flow so cool? Whose life did my flow so cool change? Right? Except that I mean, as a rapper, there's a rapper's ego. So sometimes in
Mhm.
spaces where they are talking about like hard rap, they're not having conversations about who is dropping the most life changing song. They want to talk about who is going hard on a beat. And sometimes you want to tell people this thing that they do, right?
Yeah,
So the video I shot
yeah.
yesterday, I wrote something for the Hennessy cipher. I don't know
Oh,
whether it's to prove a point to myself or prove a point to people. Oh yeah, you'll see it when it comes out. Don't worry. You'll be impressed. I can say that for a fact.
I hope
If you're not
I'm
impressed,
the
do you
first
beg
to
for?
say.
I'm just saying, if you're not impressed, do you beg for?
stand
But
stand on business.
oh no, I am standing on business. I just did it. I guess to prove to myself that I still know how to do that thing if I want to, and maybe make a statement and say, you know what, like this is how it's done. Okay, so I may dabble a little. It's not an area I'll be visiting often, but as and when I feel like I may just do it. And maybe I'll not put it out like on distro or something, maybe freestyle, put it out
Mm.
there. Again, like I said, my PI is following my Twitter. So whatever I put out, I have to make sure that it is something that is consumable by,
The
yeah, even
masses.
though I know that these
Oh,
people don't care about those things,
yeah.
but
But you
like
have
I
to
just need to
try.
make sure that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, well, let's talk. Let's move now into it because I think that the kind of music that you do, and especially when you start talking about it through the kind of education that you're having now, like uh, talking about addiction and some of these social issues, which, by the way, in Ghana is poorly spoken about. I think let's start with where the motivation for these things come from. I would assume is both external and internal, right? But how much of it is internal? How much of it is external?
That's my interest in addiction, you mean?
No, no, no. Just generally the kind of music that you make, bordering around
Oh,
social advocacy, mental health issues, um, certain sensitive topics within
right.
society.
I think it's just an overspill of the conversations I have with my friends every day. Like
Mm.
these are the things we talk about, right? It's we're either talking about who has bought what car, or who is getting married next, or which girl is fine and who is not. or or we're having these conversations. Like I have a friend called James. He is so, I don't know how his brain works. Like you'll be there random and then like there's nothing in the group, then he'll just put some question that borders along masculinity and feminism,
Mm.
or race or something. Every day is something different, and we have long arguments about it. Like it's crazy. Like sometimes I can't believe that we just spent 2 hours arguing about something that we don't even know where it came from. But while you do that, it's a lot of cognitive exercise.
Mm.
So you get to think, question how you think, listening to people, judge yourself, judge people. And in the process, what we have is we arrive at clarity. We're able to get perspective into our own biases. Like, see, we ain't I'm arguing and say no. In the heat
Mm.
of the moment, in the spell of the argument, nobody will accept, say, yeah, I do yawa. But
Yeah.
when you go back and you go and sleep, you're like, yeah, I think we are kind of true. And then I ask myself, how many other people think the way I used to think? Put it in
Mm.
music. The only challenge with that is that you might get preachy if you're not careful. And people don't like, have you seen that video that he said Friday in Tufo, Fashion Monday? Right? You're not about to advise anybody, right?
Yep.
So I guess it's been a lot of thinking about the most presentable way to talk about these things so that it's acceptable and still I'm able to bring people to what my realization was. So I keep telling people that more than half of the things that I talk about in my music, I probably was guilty of the same things.
Mm.
And I got some clarity and now I'm bold enough to talk about it. Or maybe I'm still working on it. Yeah,
Mm.
that's where these things come from.
No, I mean, and it's very powerful because the way I hear you speak about it, and just like you describe it as an overflow of some of these things means that you have the unique opportunity to be able to sample opinion, like judge yourself, like re-echo some of these thoughts and reflect on them in a unique way, and then you know almost how your audience is likely going to react. So it's like you're creating. a semblance of some of these conversations which you've had within your music, and moving forward that becomes very very timeless. I think it's really really powerful. Um, there was one that you made on cyberbullying, and uh that's what caught my attention, and I was like, okay, now I need to speak to this guy on our podcast.
Right,
And
right.
I just want us to take a detour and walk around that minefield for a while, and I call it a minefield because quite recently we had an incident where, and I don't mean to pick on one individual or anybody like that, but this guy, Bongo Ideas, where he was picked up by uh, the police or whoever it was, and there were horror stories of how he was treated. And I don't want to focus on that incident. I want to focus on the reaction which happened after that incident, where the internet was split as to the extent to which people should go. Like, what he was doing, was it legitimate or not? Did he deserve what he got or not? How do you reflect on these things, especially when we live in a world where we want people to express themselves, be themselves as much as they can? And how do we tether that with the risk of things like cyberbullying, how we still need to protect these very individuals? If we say we want to protect people's speech, to what extent does it go? At what point does it end? Do you maybe want to reflect on that a bit?
This might be the best music question anyone has ever asked me.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
like you opened my head. It's like you opened my head and picked out the exact thing. It's as if you have the answer to the question you're asking. It's crazy. The thing you mentioned, that exact thing is what made me write what I wrote.
Wow.
I haven't cared for Bongo and his engagements like ever. I guess I'm not comfortable. Initially, I found it very cringe. And
Hmm.
then in my head, I'll blame him. Then I realized that no, it's just a product of who we are as people, as
Yeah.
human beings. It's the things we like that have created this situation that we're in. So I just shelved that and then I forget about it. Until I saw that thing and I was like, Ghana for your motro mojo pa. I was sitting right here. I remember it was like 6 in the AM. My sorry, I'm a collab. And then I open my phone and the first thing I see is someone's tweets going viral because he is saying, why would the politicians then? I was like, oh, okay. Two of your enemies have met and you are defending the one that I guess you are more comfortable with because
Yeah.
politician, they're demon, right? And
Yeah.
you throw him somewhere else. And that is what I was seeing. And then the internet splits, like you said.
Yeah.
That hypocrisy, that I guess again, let me choose my words carefully. That hypocrisy versus humanity is what made me write what I wrote. Because I found myself in
Hmm.
that space too. Like for the longest time I've been thinking, yeah, this guy he has this coming for him. And now he finally has it. Why do I feel like if this really happened on my yard here? Like,
Yeah.
why am I thinking this way? Am I a hypocrite? What's wrong with me?
Mm.
So the whole thing you watched was me explaining why I think we're there. So if you listen to the song from the scheme from Atomic Habits, when we're fixing to blow, he need
Yeah.
attention, he's aggressive, so you do him the yawa, you utter poetic justice with the tongue of a dagger, you cut a regular Joe, you made him lyrical, and now he's about to eat. This is the creation of a beast. That is an explanation of all that. All my problems start from Baba, Mr. Baba, Nana Manamo. Okay, no, well, before him, from Ghanaians. The boy
Yeah.
wanted to be a blogger. If you go to his earliest tweets, he was blogging, he was talking about things in general, music, general opinions. He wasn't
Yeah.
saying anything overtly outlandish. Two retweets, one like, no comments, like that, no engagement. So he switched it up. He'll deny it today, but like that's what it is because people
Yeah.
learn, and that's his behavioral science. Behavior. The definition of a reward, according to behavioral science, is that it is anything that reinforces the likelihood of an action happening again. That is why we use rewards to teach children. right?
Mm.
So he sees that negativity is rewarded. He taps into the bag and he begins to
Mm.
tweet about Lydia forcing this one
Yeah.
that, this one that. And it gets traction, like small, small, it was building. And no crown, it wasn't really going like that. Until this guy said he wants to be a journalist, like join your show. Maybe he was already a journalist, I don't know. And then you did him dirty. And I understand. Because he did you dirty. He said things that even I would have been upset about. But at that place, you had one job. Your job was to be a judge. It wasn't the place for you to pull personal vendetta. It was out of pocket. It was out of place. It was not the right place and time for that. At least on camera. Yeah, me, I'm very like, what do you call it? I can be aggressive sometimes. Yeah, me, I probably will give you like I'll strong arm you, but after the show, I'll put you in your right place and tell you what's your now, yeah, guy, now you two know, say what fair. But you
Yeah.
decided to make his audition be about that, and that blew up, and that's one sympathy. It doesn't matter what she says about it, whether they resolve their issues or not. I don't care. But that is what I see. That is what I perceive as happening, right?
Mm.
And then Ghanaians are like, ah, no, it wasn't in your place. So somebody, or like, I guess people begin to support this person. Because if you won't help him, then we will help him. And they gave him all the logistics that he needs. And he's hardworking as well. He's very hardworking. I appreciate his
Mm.
ethic. He stuck to it. He took what resources were available to him and he milked
Mm.
the hell out of it. And that is why now he's celebrated and he's
Mm.
making money from endorsements and whatever. You can say whatever you want to say about him. He's still making more money than you, sitting at home, tweeting with your bundle and not getting any engagement. He hacked the system and we fed him the tools. You know what's crazy? We are still feeding him the tools because we are still engaging. If you come and stand under his comment, his message, and you insult him, have you not engaged?
You've engaged.
Here's the craziest part of all of it. You and I are sitting here this minute talking about him. That's how relevant he is.
This is a mind fuck. If you ask me, it is because the way in which you describe it, I think I begin to notice a pattern. It's, you know what Kendrick Lamar says, like, I don't know if it's Kendrick Lamar or J Cole, but hurts people, and you
Yeah, I'm
describe
not
it
even sure where I'm
beautifully.
from.
Yeah, yeah, and then you describe it beautifully in the sense that they had the opportunity at that point. They had the opportunity because I remember after he was addressed on the show, certain journalists called him. People called me and said, "Oh, do positive things. Like we'll give you." They gave him some donations and things, and they were like, "Oh, if you tweet positively, stuff like that," and he became an advocate for cyberbullying. I thought that was the most ironic thing I've ever seen. Him being an advocate for cyberbullying. 2 days later, he sends his resignation and says, "I've heard all what you said, but I'm going to stick to
Enfa.
my guns."
My guy. Yep, yep.
But so I really, and I really do hope people listen to this part. I like, look, if this part is cut out and this is what people would hear, I really do hope they hear it, because let's talk about the large impacts which it has. Let's look at the state of Twitter right now. I know you come in there with your messages of positivity, but even you would admit it's a struggle getting sensible things out the door now. The kind of conversations and the discourse that we have in every space, and almost, because I have a lot of friends who are intellectuals, they
God,
have started dissociating themselves, distancing themselves, and some have started adapting to the space by being also sassy with their replies, also going after people, engaging in the trolling culture. Do you think this is poisoning the chalice of discourse, especially amongst the youth? And what do you think we be wary of? How do you think this is going to impact our future?
I don't know. I don't know. So as an artist, I have to market my products, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I've learned in 3 years doing like putting music out like professionally. The things that sell: violence, sex, anything that looks uh
Vice.
I'm hesitant to use that like expression because I don't again I have a lot of mental arguments with myself, so I don't want to say something that my one part of my brain will not agree with. But like yeah, for lack of a better expression,
Mhm.
those are the things that sell because they are bold, they are unconventional, so they are perceived as cool. Okay, the fact that you had the nerve to be able to do this when other people couldn't do it, because positivity is boring. Everybody can be positive. We want to stand out, isn't it?
Yeah.
What stands out on social media? It's things we've not seen before, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason why now comedians are jumping into gadgets and things because Charlie content is right? You have to be do something that we've not seen before, say something we've not heard before, right? Positivity, every day waking up giving good vibes. People feel like they've seen it like all over again. Like I
Yeah.
mean, sorry, like people have seen it over and over again. Sorry, my bad. So now you have to like think outside the box and think about maybe if I'm able to wear this, right? It appeals to people this way. If I'm able to say this, plus nobody can come for you really, because atade na mehyɛ no, menka wo. And it's I guess who has the marking scheme for what is moral and what is not. You don't. I don't. Nobody does. So like you can't question it in any way. If you say it will come for you, myself inclusive. But because those things are more like bold to do, people that want to break out into like the space kind of lean heavily towards that unless people really know what they want and then they stand their ground. It's like now, even if you are doing a promo for a product, you have to sexualize it. Why? Because
Yes,
sex
Charlie.
sells, right? And we now we dey buy them. So if we dey complain about them, we now for fix them. You get it? If we think it's a problem, unless we don't care, and what effect I think is going to have in the future, that part there, honestly, I do not know. I've thought about it, Sarah. This will not be the first time. Number of times I've thought about what kind of world my kids will grow in and such and how I feel about it, but I don't know.
Wow. It's. I mean, in a way, I'm glad that I'm half glad that you are not gloomy about the future. Also half sad because I do know that your insight into this can give like an accurate picture of what most likely our discourse will be in the future. Because I think you're a contributor to that discourse. You because right now, I know it's not rewarding to be positive, but just like positivity became a thing we became used to and we took for granted, in a world where negativity grows, it would bet the need for positivity. This is not sustainable. The levels and the ways we are going is not sustainable. So if I am a prophet, I'm going to say that artists like you would be relevant in the future because of the very things that you speak about and because of the way in which you have positioned yourself. That would be my assessment.
That's really uplifting. The Thomas in my head said to tell you, "Obetimi aka de ope bia enuma ye pa na ye biti. Ye nka say be biti na
No, no,
something."
because it's true. Because people will get tired, right? People will get tired. Okay, let's. I know we're past the hour mark, so we'll
You're
start
fine.
getting to the
Mm-hmm.
more punchy side of things, right?
Got you.
Manifest. I saw your manifestivities, and I know, yeah, like you've been on many stages, but this platform is one where you end as a result of the work that you were putting in with your art. And reference to a lot of YouTube pages, I follow the headless YouTuber a lot who went ahead and was now breaking down your song, and I think it's one of the best breakdown people. No shade to anyone, but bars is not breakdown, which is evidence of what we were just saying. Like
Hey, I go here for the interview starting day. This part hey, that's the craziest thing I've heard today. Hey, boys.
but no, because look, people have just they short circuited the thing. The thing is, you put out a piece, people appreciate it to a degree, but someone picks it up and says, "No, let me show you the depth of what this thing means," and then people appreciate it in a new way. And we've short circuited it now to no, we need to get people to go and watch this thing and make the determination themselves. So what we do is we take the piece, then we scream about it. We scream bars, or we do our eyes some way, or we do something. And then people is like, oh, look at this guy. What's he saying? He's being stupid. And then your song plays in the background, and now we're doing it. And now no one is reflecting on what you said. Yeah. So I just wanted to highlight that in light of all these happenings, which I believe they are positive, how has it made you feel? I know you definitely not agree when I say you are now a celebrity, but how does it make you feel, especially when you're
You read
affecting the
that
lives
right.
of other people? When you're affecting the lives of other people and you are influencing their lives in one way or another. How is this change? How have you taken to this change? How do you reflect on it?
So yeah, first off, shouts to Manifest for putting me on. And no, you guys picked the wrong guy to interview. I'm too honest. I have not been on any many stages. Yeah, I can hand count how many. Yeah, and that was one of the few. It's just like people expect that for you to have reached that pinnacle, you should have had like it should have been a slow grind. No, some of us we were blessed enough to just like jump to that because I guess we had favor from God. And shouts to headless YouTuber. Yeah, I don't know bro personally. He doesn't know me from Adam. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And he doesn't break down everything I do. I have a sense of if hears it and he's like, hey, he'll take it and
Yeah.
go and break it down. And I love it because I write a lot of double entendres and word
Yeah.
plays and things.
Oh,
But
Charlie.
unfortunately,
Oh,
there's an unspoken rule that oh yeah, artists like you can't break down your own music. And I'm watching people miss all the bars. I'm like, hey, Jesus. And Headless will take it and break it down. People are like, oh, so that's what he meant. I'm like, hey, Radimedasi. So no, I love Headless. I'm grateful that he does this for me. Um, how I feel about, I guess, being in public eye. Yeah, I'm not a celebrity. Being
of
in public
course.
eye is, I don't. It doesn't get to me because you see, I'm not in Ghana. And yes, I mean,
Okay.
I'm up on and someone is going to see me and say, oh, Koo Kusi, right?
Hmm.
The first taste of that I had was in 2022 when I went to Ghana for the
Hmm.
show. Um, I did some media runs because I was in Ghana for 2 or 3 weeks. So I had
Hmm.
some Joy, then City, then Hits FM like back to back. And there was this day I had just finished, I think City. That morning I had been on City. I just finished and then I went to meet my friends at the no, the City day I went to Bliss with a friend of
Hmm.
mine, Ifwa, and we entered Northern. Some guy meets me, and I have this thing I do. I've been doing since uni. Some pretense. If I meet you and you mention my name, I have to act like I know you because I have an explanation. Because I feel like people think that if they remember you and you don't remember them, you are being cocky, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want somebody to perceive me as such. So yes, like oh Charlie, yo, what's up, right? And then I try all the while I'm trying to figure out where I met you. So I ask leading questions. And I tried this thing with this guy, only for him to tell me, ah yeah, Charlie, this morning you spotted it. And I was like, yeah, I probably don't know him. In that same place, two other people did it. And then Ife, like she notified, like she drew my attention to for a show. Like people are like looking at you. And then I began to feel uncomfortable. But it was a quiet day at Bliss, so it wasn't like too many people and we were removed from people. So I just adopted this face mask wearing thing. It's not like I'm a big person. It's just I don't know how to deal with it and I don't know how I'll act. Maybe I'm a nimbe Jimmy, right? The next day I went to the mall. Some kids were eating, right? And then I wasn't even paying attention to them. I just heard somebody say Koo Kusi and duck. And I lifted my head as one of the kids. And just because of the previous day's experience, I knew it was something like that. The girl just mentioned my name to see if I turn, just so that she can confirm if it's really me. Do
Yes.
you get it? I left my table, I walked up, I went to sit with her, and I had a conversation with them, like, hi, and those kind of things. Because me growing up, I didn't see star or celebrity or be a me on the TV, so now I'm a in person. And I need her to understand that me nipa ho no bia because me share me no ma Akra na me papa wo ye no. Akra na me mama wo ye no. I am the same child. Nothing has changed. Right? I eat the same, I dress the same, I move the same. Bro, I don't even dress like a rapper. Right? And I don't want you to think about me that way. It has disadvantages what I'm doing because sometimes they say leave people to the whole thing about being a celebrity is given this
Yeah,
mystical,
mystery.
you cannot we cannot reach you, so we can perceive you as great. But Erasmus, if I say I'm doing that thing, God knows that I'll be pretending because it's not me. So I sat with her, had a conversation with her for like 5 minutes, got up and left. There was no sign an autograph, none of that, like kind of thing. So it's been normal for me so far being removed. And if you put me in a space where it's happening, I will adjust to it until I get to a point where maybe too, it's because I'm not big enough yet, but maybe when I get to a point where I'm huge, I have to find more coping mechanisms
Yes.
like this.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. I'm not sure this is your your first experience, but sorry, maybe in previous spaces people adore you, but they know you, so they are able to tamper their reactions towards you because uh, the way in which at least I've come to know you is that people do know you. People do know you, and they know you for the things that you do, and they know you for your name, and not like knowing who you are. So these are experiences that you'd have got before, and I find it commendable that you actually make the efforts to try and break that bubble like every time. My prediction is you would.
I'm not a big artist. I'm not a big artist, so it's easy for me to do so. It's
Yeah.
easy for me. This is a crazy thing. Do you know that I reply every at a time at a point anybody that retweets my video when I post it, I DM
Yeah.
them to say thank you.
Wow.
So if you saw 1K retweets, I DM'd okay, I didn't DM one. I mean some of them I know personally or free on them. But like people I don't know, and it's not like
Yeah.
big accounts like maybe Blue. No, regular people I don't know, I don't follow, they don't follow me. The fact that he saw it and he shared, I feel like you could have seen it, watched it, enjoyed it, and passed on. I DM you to
Mm.
say thank you. And somebody asked me, "Do you think it's sustainable?" I'm like, "Hell no." When I get to a point where it is 10K retweets, I may not be able to do it again, and that is where they'll say, "Oh, Akwawi Wabaso." First, not to say, but like I need people to think about the feasibility of these things.
I understand you. I completely relate. But, see, we've mentioned a lot of the things that you do, and I've not even touched on some because I know that you're a photographer, you edit your own videos, do all that kind of cool shit. Which makes me want to strangle you because like these are things that I just struggle with. Like I don't think I'm an artistic person at all. But I guess the question here is how first of all, how do you manage to get good in all of them? Because I know that there's a requirement of time, effort, dedication, at the exclusivity of other things in order to be good at one thing. So when someone is equally good at a lot of different things, I'm always very curious. How do you do it? How do you do it? And how do you balance the interest?
Have you moved to a girl before?
If you mean one girl, yeah.
Yeah, but you've done it before.
Oh yes,
It's an
of
art.
course,
You're
my
artistic.
brother.
Never ever in your life say you're not artistic again. It is an art. To be able to move to somebody, you have some art
I
in you.
never
Don't
knew.
doubt. Yeah, it's art. Anyway, it's hard. Like, and I actually talk about it on. I have a song with Papa, Lights Go Dim. Just being a jack of all trades. I talk about
Mm,
that thing. You may never be as great as somebody who is just focusing on that one thing will be. It's just necessitates that we do these things. Like I'm here, I can't pay for somebody to shoot my videos for me. Or them share. Like I have to learn how to do
mm,
it, right?
yeah.
Edit it myself and things like that. And I get creative. I love the process. So I didn't even I didn't even know I appreciated how much art goes into typing lyrics. When I put the video out, I'll share it with you. The one I said I was working on yesterday.
Yeah.
Bro, I spent Guess how guess how many hours I spent just typing lyrics, just lyrics on the video. Guess, take a wild guess.
Maybe 30 minutes.
Bro, I spent like 8 hours typing lyrics. I'm dead ass. I'm not even kidding. Eight
Eight
hours. That's why
hours.
yeah, that's why I was up throughout the night and I was texting you. I started like 6:30, right? Just how I want the lyrics to come in, be animated. Because some of the lyrics
Yeah,
are like there's a line that says, I leave an L in the midst of your homes. It's sheer luck you done made it out of the kitchen, the grill you can't done. And just like so it's a Sherlock Holmes reference, right?
yeah,
Leaving the L in the midst of your homes because I know I will not get breakdown time and maybe headless will not break it down. No. Or then
yeah.
me made it
You make
lyrics,
the
no,
L.
like come through and then split the home and like things like that.
Yeah.
That's why it takes me time. But I realized that I enjoy the process. Like it was
Mm,
fun for me. It's as beautiful as recording the music. So I love it. It's great,
mm,
but I can't pretend it is not painstaking because I'm a
mm,
student, right? I'm supposed to be writing papers, reading papers, and things like that. It's free time, but free time is for those other things because in the weekday, I'll not get paper reading time. I'll be pushing
yeah.
cards with rats on them, doing experiments. So this is the time that you can do these other things, right? And that's the reason why I can't do it at the regularity that a full-time artist will.
Mm.
That's the what I
Compromise.
made my peace with. Yeah, that's the compromise. You kind of have to accept it that it's either I'm going to churn out shallow content or subpar content regularly, or because I'm going to school, I'll take my time. But when I do something, I'll make sure that it banks. Like the cyberbullying video that you watch.
Yeah,
Look
yeah,
at how you see every picture like stuck. All those pictures
yeah.
were stuck on one by one, and you see the sticking from different angles, right? It's the
Mm,
Erishan day, and you're also watching from this angle.
yeah.
Those were shot differently. It means that we had to take everything off, take a picture of the arrangement, and use the
Yeah.
picture as a guideline for sticking it again and shooting the video from a different angle. Because we don't have two
Wow.
cameras. Even if you have two cameras, you don't have two friends that are happy to help you. And these are people that have never done videography a day in their lives that I'm telling, oh, do I'm so, hold I'm so, adjust I'm so. So it's rough.
Mm,
But we did inside.
wow.
How good. Yeah.
No, that's really really inspiring, and I just hope it inspires because like within, like I told you I do debating, right? Like within
Mhm.
like I was very shocked at the number of people who were just like talented with stuff. Like personally, I do music,
Okay.
but I realized that
What kind of
a
music
lot of
though?
like I do more Afrobeats and hip hop stuff now. I mean,
Right.
it's yeah. I used to do Christian music, but I never like recorded it and stuff like that.
Yeah, heaven
But
lost the scene. But okay.
haven't lost the saint. I was in the choir and like singing those kind of things till I realized, oh, okay,
Oh,
Charlie, I can write stuff and make it sound good. Anyway,
that,
so I just do hope that a lot of people will take inspiration from this because I come across these people anytime I say, oh, I sing, they're like, oh, I play the guitar. Oh, I do this. I do photography. Oh, I do animation. I do this. And the story is always the same. I don't have time for this because I need to focus on my books. Like this thing takes a lot of time, or the perception of me when I do these things because I still struggle with it. Like when I go to work and when are you releasing a song? Or I sing at work and someone is like, I saw you. I'm like super embarrassed. So I personally, I'm taking a
right,
lot.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah. I personally, I'm taking a lot from like this conversation, and I do hope that people can also take
Really.
take much from this.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, before I let you go, just a couple of quick questions. How much does brotherhood, because we spoke about the camaraderie, like you mentioned, how boys make you feel good about yourself. But how much does brotherhood mean to you, and how much is it crucial that we find ourselves in those spaces, especially now that the events of the world are looking to overwhelm us? Like this our generation, I don't think we've been super lucky in terms of world events, but how much does brotherhood mean to you in that context?
It saves lives. It saves
Simple
lives.
as that.
I was talking to your friend about it, about like just the whole space of creating reasons from abroad and like where I was. Bro, my mental was in the trenches. It was in the gutter. It was bottom. Like, and it took these brothers, it took these boys. And I've been together with them like since like university. One of them like since high school. To be there. It's not like they call you to say it's not your typical, oh, so how is that? It's not that. It's just the fact that you know that it's a space so safe you can express yourself. It's weird. This is a bunch of Kumasi ass niggas. Like all of we go either we go was or we go prempe where we get one pesco boy for inside the intruder. And so you know the way Kumasi people function. It's a typical
Yeah.
boy now say like then echo. We're not about to have a conversation about your mental health.
Yeah.
Anybody care about that, right? But they have a way of having it without saying we're having it.
Mm.
Like just like they call you in lab and then maybe you talk about something that happened. And when the conversation switches to something they realize is emotionally like stimulating, they quiet down. Omo jai jimi,
Mm.
and they listen. And they can
Mm.
allow you to rant like 30 minutes and you're just going and they are listening. And they are not quick to offer solutions or anything. How you know that it hits is the first you will hear when you are done speaking. That's when you know that the boys are like right there with you. They're as confused as you are, right? And sometimes Michael will say, hey, for prayer about this one. Like boys that hold you like accountable to they'll talk about this body 5 minutes later, they'll tell you, Charlie, yeah, Moko pray about this one. Right?
Mm.
Kind of energy. And sometimes in the weekday, that one they know go take put the group inside because other boys go see say oh they bitch. So then go DM you or they'll text you like, yo, how did it go? Like this thing that they talk about, you manner doing like sometime I had my proposal defense, I was paranoid as F. And Michael texts me, he's like, how do you feel? Like out of the blue. I was like, it's cool, it's cute, right? And
Yeah.
so I don't take brotherhood for granted. They will be there for you when girls feel you.
That's the ultimate. No, like I think like I was alluding to when we first mentioned this. I saw a video of like babies and what their parents did was like their parents were holding the babies and they will intentionally hit something. So maybe they hit the door and then they just tell the baby sorry, 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 sorry. Then the baby
Oh,
start
okay.
crying.
Crying.
The baby start crying and they repeated it and all the babies cried even though they were never hit. And at that point like something stood out to me over there. Sometimes when you're going through something, the very acknowledgement of the gravity of the issue or the pain of the issue can elicit a response which is beyond what that issue itself is supposed to bring.
Is right.
So, so I find out that sometimes what happens to you is serious and you are taking it seriously. But the ability for those group of stupid boys, I would say, to sometimes laugh it off, to sometimes say, it will be fine. Oh, this is how I also went through it, Charlie, Charlie. I suffered, I did this, and you can see them laughing about it now. Makes you feel, okay, it's not that serious. Maybe I should calm down. And it has that cooling effect. So, and that's what I was saying that the way in which we speak about mental health and the language we put around it, and I understand that it is empathetic, but we cannot also remove the way we've also learned to deal with some of these things. Like it's we don't invalidate it when someone says it's gonna be
Right.
okay, like it's fine. We don't invalidate it or we don't play it down. Those are also legitimate tools which we can use to talk about some of these issues. And I think it's just one of those things that I was trying to get from you, especially through the analysis of what the browser is able to help us to cope with and to deal with.
But that begs the question, where's the fine line?
I,
Like how do we know that mental health is poorly spoken about in Ghana because we 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 are we are not two boys. Like, do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
how do you know at what point to say what?
Yep. I agree. I think we sort of live in a culture of extremes. Like I'm sure you because you live in the US, you are more exposed to this. The way in which people talk about it is sometimes very very sensitive, and I don't say it to demean anyone's strategy, but anyone's tragedy. But there were certain cases where which people reported, and the horror with which they expressed it. And I don't want to mention some of them because it's that sensitive. The horror with which they were addressing some of these issues, I was like, I grew up in Tema, I grew up in Ashaiman. It happens like every day, and I move past it. So it, from it, don't take it like I already know what I'm saying. It's still very very confusing for me, and I'm still having sort of
Right,
like these fights within my head
right,
also. But
right.
I was a bit sad for myself when, for example, they say this person died as a result of this, or this number of persons died, and in my head it wasn't as serious because I see people die every day. Like I see people in the gutter, like killed just on my way to school, and people will stand by, shout for 2 minutes, and then they'll carry the body and then they will go. So, but over here, the shock with which it's done, and I feel a bit sad for myself, but sometimes also happy
Right.
that I don't get to have to grieve all the time, that I'm able to move on. So, I'm very curious for your perspective also because of what you study. I'm very, very curious as to what you think about it because you asked me the question as to where we draw the fine line, but I guess I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. When anytime I ask you a question, if I don't ask questions, I have answers. If I ask you, it means I really don't know. It's so like I'm in the same there's that same moral dilemma. Like, I'm in mental health. Okay,
Hmm,
that's my bread and butter. Addiction research, depression, anxiety, all these things. And I see that they are real things. I talk about them hell, like in my music. But at the same time, I see how people are self-diagnosing so that they can get away with certain things. Like,
hmm,
people just blatantly mess up and put it on. I was depressed.
hmm,
Like, somebody over here can pick a gun, go outside, shoot people, and then they'll say affluenza,
hmm,
right? They'll diagnose them with something, and then I don't know. So, and but I guess the thing I say, or what I have, how I've resolved that like dissonance, like in my head, is take it seriously all the time, because you don't know.
hmm, hmm.
It's like it's like the child who cries wolf, and then they say that one day you say it and nobody will mind you. What if
Yeah.
that child crying wolf is my child? Then I'll say that
Hmm,
every day you prank me that armed robbers have come to the house. So now, if you tell me that armed robbers come to the house, I no go mind you. Then armed robbers come to the house, right?
hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
so I take it seriously. I tell my friends all the time, "Ope se unyamia, eh? Ope se unyamia." Act like you have a mental health crisis, and
Hmm,
like, you get me all the time, because much as I know that you might be messing with me, just that. Like, I texted my friend, like, we're playing pissed, and then she acted like she was upset with me, and she said something along the lines of, "It's like suicide, right?"
hmm,
Naya, bro, and then she ghosted. Like, she stopped replying my messages. See the way I panic, I panic like 2 hours, and I wasn't sleeping because it's like in my head. I know it was sometimes you they play, oh. But what if you turn
hmm.
up way money true? Then maybe you go through your own different thing where this thing became that straw that broke the camel's back. Then you go
Yeah.
do some yawa. Then the blood in my hand stop. Just the fact that for the rest of my life, I'd have to deal with that. I'll just eat my ego up, and then like submit to your prank,
Hmm.
and so be it. But I would say that people need to be cautious about what they play with, because not everyone is like me. Some people will legit JI if you keep crying wolf.
Hmm. Hmm. That's very deep. Uh, of course I have questions around it, but I think the honesty with which admit to this, because I think yes, like we are talking about the worst of harms here, like the greatest possible risk, personal risk to anybody, which is like death. So take it seriously. I think it does suffice. It does suffice in terms of an answer. Is it a sustainable response? Maybe not, but I
Maybe
think it
not.
saves the most lives. Maybe.
I guess. Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, it's been wonderful chatting with you. I had a question that I'm actually super embarrassed to ask you, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Love it.
In closing, so there was a lot of debate on Twitter quite a few weeks ago about PhD and a Dutch passport. As someone
Mm,
who is in a position to uh, as someone who is reading your PhD, and someone who also lives in a foreign land, I just wanted to hear. Did you have any thoughts when you heard it? Because I have the expectation or the feeling that you have something quirky or something smart to say about it. So I just wanted to ask you, PhD versus Dutch or USA passports.
I hate to disappoint you. I don't have anything intellectual to say about that. Debate, because the debate in and of itself is not even intellectually stimulating. That conversation, it was had in their context. It's very contextual. It cannot be compared. You have a PhD, okay, do you have a job? You have a
Yep.
Dutch passport, okay, oh yeah, Jumabe. And I will call
Yeah.
you. I mean, yeah, you do have the passport. You can get into here and there and there. You get the money. You get the money that they carry go. Oh, okay, you get PhD, but how many grants are you winning? How many grants do you have? How much money are you taking home? Share that whole argument, the bedrock, the foundation of that conversation is money. So it's not one that you can ever like pick like between the two unless there's context to it. If you give me more information about a Dutch passport and you have a this and a that, or a PhD and you have a this and a that, then I can think about it. But
Yeah.
otherwise, as it is, yeah, whoever started that argument in the first place, no, I have questions for them.
Yeah, I'm sure we can take it up to them. Coffee Gaps, this is your shade, Bejico. Anyway,
Ah, no, no,
anyways,
no, 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 start there.
I'll not
He
start
started
here.
it
He
himself.
started the whole thing. Yeah, he
No,
says he
no, no, no.
cleans toilets in Netherlands and it's better than any PhD degree from Legon.
He
Um,
said that in context, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I think I followed the conversation we've done for a while, and it just got missing in context. I think sometimes people have their own
Yep,
opinions and are
yep.
just waiting for the opportunity to just talk about it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep.
anyway, before I let you go, usually I just give my guests the chance to be able to talk about any upcoming projects, things they are working on. 45 seconds to a minute. You have the floor to promote yourself.
So my name is Kofi Kusi, and the artist name Koo Kusi. I like to talk about thought-provoking things in my music. Sometimes it's pretense; it may not be who I really am, but the music is good though. It's good rap music. You'd love it. This year, three things: cyberbullying. We started. We're not done. Um, addiction is coming soon. Maybe like next August something. Yeah, maybe August 9th. There's a whole project on addiction, and it's not about substance use disorder. Um, uh, what's the third one? Disability. Yeah. Why would anybody do a project on disability? I told a story of Echo Clock, who was a point guard in KNUST, who had a limb defect. One of his legs is longer than the other one, and he inspired me in my life. So I just told a story on on a project. I don't know when that's out, but these are things that you can look forward to. You can type Kokusi. It's KOOKUSI in your wherever you find music, and you'll find some really cool stuff. I do be code switching, so if you don't understand chi, it may be a struggle, but you'll be fine. Uh, on social media, just add underscore JNR, Kokusi Junior. So Kokusi underscore JNR on any social media platform. Snapchat, WhatsApp, hey, there the WhatsApp account. Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm not there often. YouTube, and you'll find it. And yeah, don't be shy. Let me know what you think about me.
That's wonderful. That's completely wonderful. So everyone, Kokusi, please go follow him, follow his music. It's super transformational. I think, like I was saying within the podcast, these are the kind of conversations that we need to be having. These are the kind of things we need to be listening to, like entertainment, whilst you are still being edified. And we want to say thank you to you, Koo Kusi, for gracing our platform. Um,
But
I, yeah, it's incredible to have you over here, because we are also a channel that like started. We wanted to deliver value, and we see ourselves growing, and we don't take this lightly, that you came on here for us and to speak to people, to speak to our audience. We don't take it lightly at all. So thank you so much for passing through.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for
All
having me
right.
here. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. All right, audience, thank you all so much for staying with us throughout the entirety of this episode. We hope you really, really enjoyed the conversation. And like I said, please subscribe, please like these videos, please share them. Um, we are definitely going to keep on bringing you bigger and bigger guests, talk about way more exciting things, and we'll look forward to the next episode. Cheers.